it's time to gather the equipment to make homemade yogurt. The first thing you'll need is a large heavy kettle or a Dutch oven in my case, and I've got that on the stove and ready to go. I use a gallon of milk. You can use a half a gallon of milk if you want. You'll also need yogurt to use for starter culture. This is a Greek yogurt, and it's really important that your yogurt says that it contains live active cultures. That's what helps our yogurt become yogurt. When you're looking for a yogurt to use as your starter culture, it is important that it says that it's got those active live cultures, but get the smaller containers and taste several different kinds and see what you like, because the yogurt that you make will take on a lot of the same flavor as the yogurt that you use for a starter. That's why I like to use a plain yogurt or a vanilla, because I use my yogurt for a lot of different cooking things where I would use other ingredients that I can no longer have. You're also going to need something to measure the temperature, and this is just a candy thermometer. You need to measure up to about 185 to 200 degrees. And you'll need a whisk. You'll also need containers to put your yogurt in, and a method of moving your yogurt from your large saucepan into the containers. The first thing we're going to do is dish out some of our starter culture yogurt into just a little plastic dish, and I will put this lid on it and we'll let it sit out at room temperature so that it can get up to the same temperature, warm up a little bit so that it's ready to go. Alright, so we're going to take a couple good spoonfuls, and this is just, it's Greek yogurt, and this one happens to be honey. I like to use plain or vanilla because of, I'm not supposed to have that extra sugar, but this was what I could find, and so I'm just using up this container until it's gone. So I've filled up my little dish. There's probably 6 ounces there, and I'm just going to put a lid on it and set it aside and let it sit at room temperature. So the next thing we do, we'll take our gallon of milk and pour that into our saucepan. This is exciting video, isn't it? And you can see the kettle gets plenty full. I'm going to turn the heat to medium, and we're going to start cooking. You want to cook your milk up into about between 185 and 200 degrees. So I'm going to get my candy thermometer in here, and I'm going to start stirring, and I'll see you again when the temperature comes up. It's been about 15 minutes, and you'll see my milk is getting a little bit bubbly and foamy, and I don't know if I can get you zoomed into the temperature or not, but it's at about 125, and I've been stirring since it's been warming up quite a bit because I don't want it to scald to the bottom of the pan. Holding the camera with my right hand, because I'm right-handed, and trying to stir with my left is a little bit of a challenge. So now I'm going to go get my sink filled up with cold water, because the sink is going to be how we cool this down effectively so that we can add our yogurt culture. So I'll fill that with 3 to 4 inches of cold water. There, we're at about 150. We've still got a ways to go. At this stage, I'm pretty much stirring constantly because I don't want the milk to scald to the bottom of the pan. So I'm waiting to get up to between 185 and 200, and you can read different recipes and they'll have different things to say about what temperature that is. And then when I do get to my 185, I'm going to turn the stove off and move my kettle into my cold water bath. So you'll miss that part because you maybe didn't know this, but I don't have 3 hands, so I can't move the kettle and hold the camera at the same time. So hang on, folks, we're getting close. We're almost at 175. All right. Alright, we're right between 185 and 190, so I'm going to turn off the heat and move the kettle into the ice bath. Alright, so my milk is in the sink full of cold water, and the temperature is going down pretty quickly. I have been stirring. This is the point where you're going to want to get your containers together because you don't have to worry about your milk scalding at this point. So I just have 3 9x13 roughly, this one's a little larger, cake pans. Sometimes I use canning jars, but these work really well. It's just a 9.5 ounce container. I think they're from Glad, lids that look like this. So you want to assemble all of your containers, make sure they're clean, and lids. If you want to have flavored yogurt, this is where, you know, you could do the fruit on the bottom, you could put blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, whatever it is that you wanted to have in your yogurt, you could divvy up into each of your containers. I make all of mine plain and then flavor it right as I'm going to eat it. Also, if you wanted to sweeten your yogurt or put vanilla in it, I would put the sugar in it while you're cooking it to make sure you get it all dissolved, and you could put your vanilla in or flavoring at any time. If you wanted to use canning jars to put your yogurt in, these are 2 half-pint jars, a narrow mouth and a wide mouth, and just lids that I found for them in the canning section of my store. There's the regular mouth lids and the wide mouth lids. I use these with all my canned goods. After I take the ring and band off of them from processing, then I simply put one of these plastic caps on, which I cannot screw on with my left hand. And, you know, but you're going to have several lids for that. Having lids in jars is not a problem at my house because I am a freaky canning woman. But that's another option if you don't want to use the plastic. So my milk's almost down to temperature. Now I'm going to come warm my oven up, and I'm just going to turn it to warm, which on my oven, I don't know if this is going to show or not, is 170 degrees. I don't want it super hot, I just want it warm. I don't want it to be over about 120 or 125 degrees. And I'm going to turn the oven light on because that's going to help generate heat. Alright, I have pulled my kettle out of the sink, and we are now at about 120, and I'm going to stir it just a little bit more and pull the thermometer out. Well, I guess the thermometer is going to pull itself out. Okay, we are well below 120, so I'm going to pull the thermometer out, and I'll just set that on the side of the counter here. And then I'm going to reach for that yogurt that I got out. So now I can take the yogurt and see if I can get that to just slide right into the milk. Looks like I'll have to grab a spoon to get the rest of this. Alright, all the yogurt is in. Now we're just going to stir and make sure that that's all stirred in. We want it evenly distributed through all of that warm milk, because that's the culture that's going to act on this milk and turn it into yogurt. It's a fermentation process, and that fermentation process is what allows folks that are lactose intolerant to eat and process the lactose that's in milk, because the bacteria cultures have already broken it down. So, alright, I feel like that's probably pretty well mixed in. You don't want to over mix it and you don't want to over aerate it. So now I just take my canning funnel and I'm going to set that in one of my containers, and I'm going to take a ladle full of my milk mixture, and I'm just going to start filling my little containers. So that's pretty boring for you to watch. I will bring you back when I've got all of these filled up. So as I get all the containers filled, I put the lids on them. So this is my last pan. I'll come over and open the oven, and then we'll take this pan, and trying not to jostle it too much, we're going to put it in on the bottom shelf. And so there's the first pan, the second pan, and the third one. The light is on. We'll shut the door, and by the magic of science, we'll have yogurt. So it's about time for me to go to bed because I am sitting on the couch falling asleep watching YouTube videos, but I want to cover these up a little bit to make sure the heat stays in. So I've got a couple of towels, and they're just old towels, and I'm going to cover my containers up with the towels, and I'll be right back. So all I did was cover those pans with the towel, kind of tucked it around the edges to help keep the heat in, and I'm going to close the oven, and in the morning we'll have yogurt. Hi again, it's now 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to pull the towels off of the yogurt and pull the yogurt out of the oven. Let's see if I can do this one-handed without spilling. I'll pull these out and be right back. Alright, so we've pulled our yogurt out. There they all are. And you can see that there's a little bit of fluid at the top. That's just some whey or buttermilk that's come off. So you can leave it, you can stir it in, or you can just kind of pour it off a little bit, and you see my dirty stuff is still in the sink from last night. So I'll just pour that off, and you'll see we've got a nice thick yogurt there. And here's what our yogurt looks like. You see it's a nice thick consistency. So I'll put all of these in the refrigerator, and there you go. That's how you make yogurt. Pretty simple. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I hope your challenge to spring back your body is going well. Have a great day, everyone.